A legendary weekend in the Lou. PGA Tour champions compete in the Stiefel Charity Classic, presented by Compliance Solutions, September 4th through 7th. And COAR. Perform live with your Friday ticket. Visit StiefelCharityClassic.com today.
The Randy Karraker Show on STL Sports Central, presented by DraftKings, where the crown is yours. Matthew Rocchio, Randy Karraker, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing fantastic, Randy. How are you doing? How was your 2 days running some errands and enjoying your birthday?
Yeah, just chilling out a little bit, getting some rest. You know, I'm exhausted. I'm old now, so I need time off.
Now, we usually have a cake out here when it's somebody's birthday, but yours is a frozen Reese's cheesecake.
Which I'm very thankful for.
So we don't have it out here. It's sitting in the freezer. So we did not forget Randy's birthday. We got him a Reese's cheesecake. So we made sure to line him up exactly what he needs, but we don't want it to melt during the show. We got an hour and a half of content here for you guys. So
I was in picking up a couple of bananas over at Shook's across the street from our studios here. And lo and behold, our content director, Joe Roderick, is there. And Joseph's got a Reese's cheesecake and a frozen one in his hand. He says, I guess I just spoiled the surprise. That's great. Cardinals beat the Marlins again. The Cardinals can handle the Marlins. No problem at all. 7-4. Michael McGreevy, 3 earned runs. He goes 6. I think, Matthew, that Michael McGreevy is now, right at the moment, the Cardinals' best starting pitcher.
Really?
Yep.
I don't think you're crazy on that one. He looks fantastic. I know the numbers aren't going to jump across the page for anybody. Just, the 6 innings pitched. I know it was big after the weekend. Everyone else was going 5 that time. But I mean, if you watch that start from McGreevy, it felt like a guy who was shoving.
Yeah.
It felt like a guy who had complete control. He was able to hit his corners. He was able to hit his spots. He was able to get the hitters off kilter. That's how you see a guy like him who doesn't have elite strikeout stuff walk away with 5 strikeouts, but no walks. If you don't walk anybody, those 5 strikeouts ring a little bit larger. And so McGreevy just had a fantastic game for what we can expect from him at this point.
And here's my thought. You go into a game, let's just go down the other 4. McGreevy versus Gray. I feel better about McGreevy pitching.
Wow.
McGreevy versus Liberatore.
Yeah.
McGreevy versus Miklasz. I think that's pretty obvious. And Palante goes tonight against Sandy Alcantara. And I feel better about McGreevy going against going rather than Palante. I would take McGreevy right now, as we speak, at the moment, as the Cardinals' best starting pitcher.
That's a pretty good run. I like that you're rolling with it. I think the Cardinals would be happy if that's the case.
Although I think they would like to have somebody pitch better than him. How about, you never know. This is why you never have enough starting pitching. Did you see what happened with Zach Wheeler? Like he was, he had blood clots. He had surgery, and you don't recover from the surgery for 90 days at the earliest. And that's just a normal non-athlete recovery. So they're not going to have him for the playoffs. But this had a chance to be a fatal blood clot situation for Zach Wheeler.
That's terrifying.
It is.
Yeah. It's always so terrifying when that happens to an athlete, because you're like, yeah, they're getting medical treatment like consistently day by day. If you're a regular human being, that's the worst thing.
It is. From a baseball standpoint, obviously you're happy that he had the surgery and that he's going to be okay. But from a baseball standpoint, pretty devastating for the Phillies, who I thought had a chance. Still think they have a slight chance to be a World Series team, but I liked Philadelphia's chances to unseat the Dodgers or beat the Padres in the National League. I don't really love their chances anymore. And I'm not sure about Milwaukee. I love the way Milwaukee plays. They play the style of baseball that I like. They make me proud with the style that they play. But here's the thing. When the Cardinals played in the 80s and obviously the 80s were completely different, but they had superstar Hall of Fame quality players. Well, Ozzie obviously was a Hall of Fame quality player. Willie McGee was an MVP. Vince Coleman was a Rookie of the Year who was a dominant performer. They had Tudor, who should have won a Cy Young. Andujar, who was good enough to win a Cy Young. Danny Cox won 18 games in 1985. There are a lot of great elements to the 80s Cardinals. I don't know what the great element that you say, okay, that is a stud. That's a dude that the Brewers have, aside from the fact that they just play a great team game, which I adore. I think it's fantastic, but I don't know if you can win without stars in the playoffs.
I mean, they have a former MVP who's hitting pretty well this year.
Yeah. Yelich is a nice player, and Churio's a really nice player, but I just they don't have that guy yet.
How much of these?
And I love. If Milwaukee won, I would be thrilled.
How much of this is some historical bias based on you seeing a lot of very talented regular season Brewers squads that never do it in the playoffs? Are you truly evaluating just the 2025 Brewers here? Or are you letting a little bit of historical bias creep in?
I don't think so, because the Brewers have not won with people like Corbin Burns and Ryan Braun in the past. I mean, he was an MVP quality player. They've had a lot of really good starting pitchers. They had the best closer in the game at one time in Hader. They've had a lot of really good players. I think this, in terms of having individual talent, this doesn't stack up to some of the other Brewers teams. It's strictly based on star power. Now, that being said, it's going to be hard to beat a team like the Dodgers. But if the Dodgers have to go to Milwaukee for the first two and you're feeling a little bit at some point, maybe they wouldn't play in the first round, maybe Milwaukee would have a chance. And Philadelphia, without Zach Wheeler, it's going to be a different look thing. I don't think the Cubs are there. I don't know what's going to happen with the Padres. If you would have told me a week ago, you would have said, yeah, Randy, the Padres are going to be in the World Series, I would have said, oh, yeah, no surprise. But now after they get swept by the Dodgers, it kind of looked to me like the Dodgers were just bored until they got to the Padres. And then they beat up on the Padres. And I think the Dodgers kind of toy, as you would say, they play with their food.
Yeah, it's hard to completely lean against the Brewers when you think about them being able to throw Peralta and Mizorowski in games 1 and 2.
Yeah, Mizorowski has to get healthy.
Yeah, he has to get healthy.
And then
Priester, Quintana, Patrick, they could combine these guys in a lot of different ways and utilize them in that fashion.
And they have a great manager.
Yes,
Murphy.
Yes, they do. So, and God, their bullpen is fantastic. Ashby, 2.03 ERA. Trevor McGill, their closer, 2.09. Grant Anderson, 2.97. Abner Uribe, 1.82 ERA in 59 games pitched. I mean, if they don't have to get into their deep bullpen, this is a team that they could blitz anybody else for game 1 and 2 and win that series, and it wouldn't surprise me at all.
It would take a collapse on the part of the Brewers, and I don't foresee a collapse coming, but it would take a collapse by them to not finish with the best record in the National League. I think, are they 6 clear of everybody? Now, they just got swept by the Cubs yesterday. Oh, bulletin apparently official.
What do we got?
But they got swept by the Cubs yesterday. Right now, the Brewers are 5 games clear of everybody else in baseball, and 6 games clear of Philadelphia, 7 of the Dodgers. So I don't think Philadelphia is going on a run without Wheeler. The Dodgers still have to get everybody healthy. They're very capable of it, especially with the division that they play in and the schedule they have remaining.
No, they're winning the NL.
The Brewers are?
Yeah, the Brewers are winning the NL.
Good. I like it.
There's no doubt about that. Because to your point, are the Padres really going to put together a run that gets them 9 games up on the Brewers? That's not happening either. So I'm with you on every one of those ones. There's just maybe the Cubs. How many games do they have left? Do they have another series against the Brewers?
They're 7 behind. The Cubs have the same exact record as the Dodgers.
Yeah, but I'm just saying is at least they at least might have a series directly against them. And that's they could have. Sure and maybe they have multiple ones. Probably not multiple, but Brewers, Cubs. So they have. Oh, Brewers and Cubs have 2 more games today because they were making they were supposed to have a game 2 of doubleheader, which then got rained out, so they had to make up the game 2 of the doubleheader. So they still have 2 more games left there, and those are the final 2 games. It looks like of August, and then we look at September, and Cubs and Brewers only have those final 2 games.
Oh man!
So yeah, looks like really
That's
hard,
terrible,
really hard for the Cubs to catch the Brewers. Although the Cubs schedule: Angels, Giants, Rockies, Braves, Nationals, Braves, Rays, Pirates, Reds, Mets, Cardinals.
Okay. That's just horrible scheduling on the part of Major League Baseball that you would not have the Brewers and the Cubs playing in September.
Well, Randy, you know what? Let's we talked a little bit about McGreevy. Let's jump right into talking about something baseball's doing stupidly.
Okay,
let's dive into the comments from Rob Manfred over the weekend. Okay. The last 2 days of the show, we've gotten some very differing opinions. Me and Joe Roderick reacted to it right out of the gate on Monday, and we reacted to it in a very, let's take everything Manfred had for face value. Mm-hmm. He mentioned East-West. So we got into potentially the end of the National League and American League as we know it. Brendan didn't want to play that game, and I respect him for that. So we talked about the Athletics article, which moved the Rockies into the AL, the Rays into the NL, and then redrew the 4 divisions. Your thoughts overall about Manfred's comments, Ray, expansion and realignment from over the weekend?
Well, let's start with this. Manfred works for the owners, and there's no way the owners are going to allow the elimination of the National and American leagues. It's just not going to happen.
You think so?
There's no way.
Okay.
There's no way Hal Steinbrenner would vote to take the Yankee to not have an American League and not be the however many time American League champions. There's no way the Cardinals would vote to not have a National League. This ownership really appreciates it. They've got all those pennants on the top of their dugout. They're going to just say that history doesn't exist anymore.
What if the Eastern and Western leagues are just the American and National League?
Well, okay, so the way the Athletic had it set up
makes more sense.
Absolutely 100% great. All you have to do is, and the logic is there, move the Rockies, who nobody cares about, to the American League, move the Rays, all due respect, nobody cares about, to the National League, flip-flop those two. You've got 4 logical, geographically designed divisions in each league. Bing, bang, boom. And you still have Cards, Reds, Brewers, Cubs, all in the same division. The Yankees. Let me back up a little bit. We talk about rivalries in baseball. I think there's only 3 rivalries.
That's me. I laid it down with Joe. You have to protect 3 rivalries.
Yep. Cards, Cubs.
Yep.
Yankees, Red Sox.
Yep.
Dodgers, Giants.
Yep.
That's it.
The Joe was making a point. Roderick's point, because that was something that Manfred said. Manfred said something about how the World Series will be more attractive when it's East versus West, which I thought was an odd comment, and I didn't take it immediately as we have to 100% geographic, make it all geographic, to where it's an Eastern Western Conference thing. And I get the idea of the time zones and pitting those things against each other. And so Joe was like, well, you could have the Yankees, Mets, Red Sox, and Phillies all in one division. And while I could see the reasoning for that, and there's a lot of logic to it, it sounds wrong, and I'm against it just on basic principle. You can't put the Mets and the Yankees in the same league. That sounds wrong.
Well, not only that, but from a television standpoint, you want to have the possibility of the Mets and the Yankees playing each other in the World Series.
Yeah, I thought so too. Joe says one Subway Series isn't a good enough reason to keep it the way it is now.
Well, but I think, again, from a TV standpoint, you don't want to have the 2 teams in your biggest market. And if you're thinking that way, you're probably thinking Angels and Dodgers, same division, Cubs and White Sox, same division. You want to have those teams be in different leagues. You don't want to have so let's just,
I agree.
If you would do it that way, theoretically, and I don't think the baseball would be stupid enough, and I don't think TV would allow this to happen. But what would happen if you had in baseball's, well, you wouldn't have leagues. So you'd have East, West, Central. But you just wouldn't want to have, I don't think, those teams in the same division. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, it would bother me. And I think and there's been some reaction. There was a radio show host in New York who got a lot of pub for pointing out that this is the death of the National and the American leagues and things like that. I think that's a bridge too far. The Athletics solve makes a lot of sense. And I understand Joe and people pointing out the East-West comments that Manfred made. I just think, first of all, that was Manfred making a sales pitch.
It's kind of like the Golden Bat, right?
Yeah, it was.
He was just throwing some BS out there.
I feel like that was part of the sales pitch, because that's what Manfred being on TV was. That's why the reports now are that the deal got done. I firmly believe Manfred being on national television and hawking the wares of Major League Baseball publicly like that was their last final way of saying, this is our sales pitch. This is what makes sense. That's why he lays out, it would be so great for our TV partners, because their entire plan is to get this deal done now and then put everything back on the table in a few years. years when the World Series is up for grabs. And that's why he was referring to a World Series broadcast that's more attractive because it's East versus West.
Well, and that won't happen until after there's expansion, which won't happen until he's gone. Now, if they would set it up so that there was East and West, and the first time that the World Series teams met, if you could still call it the World Series, would be in the World Series, I'm on board with that. I'm on board with there being no interleague play. And the first time that the Yankees play the Dodgers in the World Series, that's the first time they meet all year long. If there's no interleague play, I could get on board with it.
If there's no interleague play, you can get on board with it. And then at that point, because you can you still get the geographic rivalries in that case. Although there was a publication out there that separated, that drew the line between East and West, essentially at the Mississippi, and had the Cardinals and Cubs in different leagues. That is an abomination.
That will never happen because neither the Cardinal ownership nor the Cubs ownership would ever allow that to happen. Those votes would not be
the
there.
One thing being thrown out there was the expansion was obviously a little bit more. I think people expect expansion. Salt Lake City, Portland, and the Athletic had Nashville, Raleigh, but I know Charlotte's also being thrown out there
Nashville,
as well.
Charlotte makes more sense to me.
Okay.
Charlotte's a bigger market, great demographic. I think they would have a much better chance to support a team for 81 home games than Raleigh would. And Raleigh is a growing, burgeoning city. But I get the sense that, and maybe Raleigh, I don't know the demographics. Maybe Raleigh would be a better regional draw than Charlotte. But in terms of just the market itself, I think Charlotte would be better. I think the only reason, and I don't, we'll have to look up which is actually bigger, Charlotte or Raleigh. But the fact that Charlotte still has to compete with a basketball team and an NFL team, and in Raleigh, all you have to compete with is the NHL and college basketball. But you don't have to do that during the winter. There's much less competition during the summer months in Raleigh than there is in Charlotte, where you also have Charlotte Motor Speedway that gets used during the summer as well.
I'm checking on something right now. Sorry. Okay. There's Fayetteville in North Carolina. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Raleigh Durham is number 22. Charlotte is number 21. Okay. They're literally right on top of each other.
Yeah. Okay.
Portland's number 23. Nashville's number 26. St. Louis is number 24.
And sinking.
And Milwaukee, the smallest market in Major League Baseball, for now is number 38. But next year, the smallest market in Major League Baseball becomes Las Vegas. Well, in that case, TV market matters a lot less.
How about that? All right, let's get to some of your fantastic chats. Nashville Prairie Dogs. Now, why would we name them that? I think prairie dogs are exceptionally cute. We have some at the Free St. Louis Zoo, but I would hope that they could come up with a better name than the Nashville Prairie Dogs.
Yeah, you think they'd be able to, I think.
There were 7,600 fans in Miami last night, and we're talking expansion. Miami that's a good market. Well, not a great market because you have to win there. Even the Dolphins don't draw, and that's a football state. And the Dolphins don't draw unless they're winning. But that was a publicly built stadium that opened within the last decade. You can't leave it. I think they have a 30-year lease, and the team has to do a better job. And the ownership there isn't great, but it's not the amount of fans. It's the ancillary issues, like the fact that they have a brand new stadium that the state is still paying for, like the team has a lease. And those fans have never been given a chance. They've never been given a consistent opportunity. They started in 93, right? They've never had a consistent opportunity. I don't know if that franchise has ever had back-to-back winning seasons. So I don't think that the baseball fans of Miami have been given enough of an opportunity. So that's one of the reasons we're talking expansion. And by the way, expansion won't happen until the new stadium gets built for the Rays, and that'll presumably be in Ybor City. And then the athletic situation is handled as well.
AC says Charlotte needs a team. Randy pointed out the issues with the corporate dollars being spent already across two other franchises, including the two biggest leagues in the world, or in the country, in the NBA and the NFL. Raleigh is right there, at, just one media market behind, only has one team. And I like this, Brandon Shaver pointed this out yesterday, and then we did a little bit of research. Raleigh in not Raleigh itself, North Carolina, the state, is home to the second highest total of minor league baseball teams in the country. Only Florida and California have more. Florida and California each have 10 teams. There are 9 minor league baseball teams in North Carolina.
That's amazing.
That's a baseball loving group of people. So give Raleigh and North Carolina the team. I think there's a lot of reason it makes sense.
I think that's a great idea. By the way, the Marlins did have back-to-back winning seasons in 2009 and 2010 under Freddie Gonzalez as their manager. But otherwise, 78, 80, they went 83 and 79 under Jack McKeon in 04 and 05 too. Oh, and so they had a 3-year run of winning.
Good for them. Good for them.
That? They're fantastic.
Miami has too many things going on. Do you want to go to a baseball game or a club or the beach? You're right, but you have to have professional sports teams in Miami because it's arguably right there at the end of the top 5 list of biggest cities in this country. Like it's New York, LA, Chicago, and then some combination of Atlanta, Houston, Miami, DC, Dallas. Like those are the next 5 in contention for after the top 3. And so you have to have pro teams in Miami
and give the fans something to cheer for. And we just mentioned that a long time ago they had 3 straight winning seasons. Let's see, the Marlins in 2023 under Skip Schumacher went 84 and 78. That is, and we'll throw out the COVID season because that doesn't count. So the last time before Skip led them to a winning season was 2009. So in the last 16 years, they've had 1 winning season. The Marlins have.
Yeah.
So that's that. The fans really haven't been given an opportunity to cheer for something. I'm not blaming the fans there.
We're seeing Lipsis says, I really want to see Montreal get a team. I want the Expos to come back. Doobie Doo also says that Montreal would be great to have a team back in Major League Baseball. Pretty definitive reason why they left Major League Baseball.
They don't like Shea Paris.
Yeah.
So, that's fine. Montreal is, and apparently they've got a stadium, right? They've got stadium.
But isn't it the same issue with hockey where the problem is always going to be getting players to play there a long time because of the taxes?
Yeah, I think that's an issue. But players want to go to Toronto. You just have to pay them a bunch.
That's true. You're right. So you just got to pay them a lot. And I guess, there's no cap. Maybe that's easier.
Yeah. Let's see. Miami. Let's see.
Well, we do have some people throwing against it. You mama, there's no need for a National League and American League. Do an Eastern and Western Conference just like the NBA.
Well, then you just throw out the complete history of your sport, though. That's the problem. I mean, you've had the World Series, since 1902? Was that the first one? 1905. You've had the American and National Leagues. You had the All-Star game. If you can, I guess, because some people will never understand or appreciate history. You could do it, but I don't think from a sports standpoint, if I were in charge of sports, I wouldn't want to throw out the complete history of my sport.
It just seems wrong to me. And even if you keep some of those, like, you have to change, you have to edit. And I don't see why you have to do these wholesale changes. Like, no one's saying that you can't, move a team like the Brewers or the Rockies to the American League or the National League or the Rays. But like anything that revolves around moving like the most historic teams in baseball to a different league or changing up their rivalries, you can't do it. Baseball,
just eliminating the league altogether.
Baseball is built on nostalgia. Nostalgia is one of the biggest things it still has going for it. As the NBA and NFL get bigger in their marketing power. So why would you want to kill one of the few things you really have going for you? That's always going to be you have going for you. You can't pull off, how can you not be romantic about baseball? You can't pull off that line about any other sport in America. Baseball just works that way.
And I would be inclined, if I were in Rob Manfred's shoes, because of that, to go back to having a separate National and American League where both leagues don't really know each other, where there's pride in an all-star game. The all-star game used to be a big deal. The National League players really wanted to win for their league. American League players really wanted to win for their league. Now, because of the incestuous nature of baseball now, because of free agency and players being all over the place, you'll never have that sort of allegiance to the league that you had back then. You'll never have like a National League president and an American League president. However, I do think that you could get a little bit more fire if the teams didn't see each other all the time. And if I think the World Series, like I said, would be better if the teams didn't see each other all year long until the World Series. I loved that when they had that.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. All I know is interleague play, so I've always liked it. I like seeing different teams. But to your point, baseball to me, just like to hockey as well, it seems very regional. Like I talk about it too. Like I get infatuated by other teams in the NFL or the NBA, but like the Cardinals are the only team in baseball I ever really care about. And I think baseball is very regional like that. And so you have to lean into that. You can't push away from it.
No doubt about it. We're going to get to Hanna Barton talking a little SEC in just a moment, but I did want to get to one more chat, and that was from Doobie-Doo. Do you guys think it's possible that the Rockies would be moved out of Colorado if they keep performing like this? Rockies are drawing shockingly well, despite the horrific performance of their team. And that's another really good market. It's a growing market, and there are probably, 8 franchises, 10 franchises, maybe more, that would move before the Rockies would move. And not the baseball would move them, but you've got Tampa, you've got Miami, you've got Minnesota, and in large part because of the ownership. I don't think the MLB would move that team. I don't think they want to move any teams. They kept Pittsburgh. At one point, you remember this? Bud Selig wanted to contract the Pirates and the Twins, and he was talked off the ledge.
When was this?
Mid-2000s, right after he screwed up the All-Star game. Yeah. So we weren't going to have those teams anymore. They were going to contract rather than expand, and now they're talking about expansion. But I think in the markets that baseball is in, now nationally, it is not looked upon kindly. As a matter of fact, at ESPN, when people start talking baseball on TV, the ratings go through the floor. That's on a national basis. But if you look at local TV ratings, for the most part, your team that's on local TV during the summer is one of the top 3 rated shows every night during the summer. So even though nationally the baseball isn't great, Colorado gets really good TV ratings, and the Cardinals TV ratings, by the way, are up this year, even though the attendance is down. And Colorado is getting good attendance too. Did you see it? Are you looking at it?
Yes, I am. So
this is baseball contraction 2005?
01.
01, okay.
There's a reason why you have 05 in your brain. The owners did vote to contract or eliminate the Minnesota Twins and Montreal Expos.
Yeah.
And eventually what happens is the Expos relocate to DC in 2005. Right. That's why you had that in your head. But they actually did vote to do it. Do you know what stopped them from contracting the Minnesota Twins? The reason why the Twins, with their cheating-ass World Series, still exist is because a court injunction compelled them to honor their lease in the Metrodome.
How about that?
As well as, and there were some challenges from the Players Union and Players Association as well. But something tells me that them having to not get sued over a lease is the reason why the Minnesota Twins still exist today.
Isn't that amazing?
That's incredible.
Yeah. So, and it wasn't too long ago either, within the last, this century.
Is it sad that when you really boil down to it, that the history of American sports is just the history of stadium leases?
It really has become.
Like the last 60 years is just, you can boil almost every huge plot down to, is there a stadium lease somewhere with someone trying to get money to build a new stadium? Oh, like every single story comes down to that in one way or another in American sports. It kind of makes it feel hollow. It's almost like real estate is the most important thing in this country.
Oh, yeah, you'd think so. Yeah. But the Giants almost moved to Tampa. The White Sox almost moved to Tampa. Both of those franchises had to be snatched from Tampa Bay. In the NFL, the move of the Raiders, the move of the Browns to Baltimore, the Cleveland getting the Browns back, the move of the Rams from L.A. to St. Louis and St. Louis back to L.A., it all had to do with stadiums and stadium leases. It's pretty incredible. Hey, we want you to know what's going on with our friends at DraftKings, and especially DraftKings Pick 6, where the crown is yours. Promo code STL Sports. And here is why you want to know about DraftKings, because it really makes it fun to watch sporting events. It makes it fun to play, and fun for you to be able to just relax on a summer evening and get in on the action. It's crazy simple. Just pick more or less of the stats for any 2 or more of your favorite players, and boom, you're in the mix for big cash prizes. Pick 6 available right here in Missouri, so you don't want to miss out on the fun by taking advantage of it. And if you want to play today, you've got the Cardinals in Miami. It's going to be Alcantara for Miami and Palante for the Cardinals. And that might not be a bad way to go. I was looking earlier today at Sandy Alcantara. He's only at 4.5 strikeouts. He's going to strike out more than 4.5 Cardinals.
Yeah, I think you can probably lean on that one a little bit.
Yeah, so that was the first one that I was looking at. And then the amazing Cal Raleigh is taking on Jesus Luzardo. And Luzardo is great, and he's having a pretty good year. But Cal Raleigh at 1.5 hits plus runs plus RBIs, I'm going to go over there. So I'm going to go Raleigh, and I'm going to go Alcantara, both with the over. And that is going to be my bing, bang, boom bet. And you don't need to settle for a smaller payout. Switch to Pick 6. And right now, if you're a new customer, you can get $25 in bonus picks with your very first deposit of $5. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use that promo code STL Sports. That's code STL Sports for new customers to get $25 in bonus picks with your first deposit of $5. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings, where the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
All right. Hey, there's Hanna Barton.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Southeast Sports. Everything's good. How are you? Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you guys, too. Happy to be back.
So you got to tell us what it's like, first of all, because Eli Drinkwitz said yesterday he's having so much difficulty picking out a quarterback. What's it like to be a fan of a team that has their quarterback picked out and he's good?
Listen, it's great because anyone who knows South Carolina football in recent years knows that has not always been the case. I mean, I think of a few years ago when we had a grad assistant with an extra year of eligibility in his back pocket, and he had to come in and play for us. We had wide receivers playing quarterback. We had 4 different quarterbacks playing in the same game. So I know the struggle, and I'm not going to lie. It brings a sense of peace knowing that not only do we know our quarterback, but we know that he's a good quarterback. So I want to say my heart goes out to Mizzou fans, but I wouldn't go that far. But I do know the struggle.
I can't explain how mad I am that you guys made me think about Connor Shaw today. I'm very, very angry that you guys made me remember the nightmares that Connor Shaw gave the Missouri Tigers right when they got into the SEC in that first year. Yeah, I feel no sorrow for South Carolina fans and their quarterback odyssey over the last few years. Have fun with Sellers. That's all the good things I have to say. Wow. That game was rough, Randy. That game affected me as a fan. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, so if you are a fan of another SEC team, which Hanna, you are. Hanna, by the way, from Southeast Sports, Southeast Sports Fans, you need to check it out on YouTube, doing all the previews, and every week during the season, they'll cover the SEC like nobody else does, and we're really looking forward to that. But as a fan of South Carolina, would you rather have Mizzou choose the more mobile guy in Bo Prabula, or the more arm talent guy? I'll call him that because he's not a statue. There's a little mobility for Sam Horn, but would you rather face a guy with better arm talent or better mobility?
You know, I think that in one area that South Carolina has kind of more veteran presence is in the secondary. So I think that they've kind of got that on lock. Of course, on the line, we've got Dylan Stewart. And so I think if you have someone that maybe can't move around too much and you have him maybe in the same place for too long, Dylan Stewart's going to be able to take advantage of that. And so I think I'd rather have someone that maybe, are you saying if I, as a South Carolina fan, who would I rather go up against?
Who is going to be easier
I'm going to take the statue.
Okay, so that'll be Sam Horn.
Yeah, Sam Horn.
So, and it's not like he's completely immobile. It's just Prabula is a running quarterback, and Horn is a throwing quarterback that has the ability to move around.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Well, you guys broke down the Mizzou preview on Southeast Sports Fans. It was the 6th of the previews that are up right now. You can guys check those all out. You guys also put up University of Tennessee. We'll talk about that here in a moment. But obviously, all the talk right now is around the Missouri Tigers and the quarterback competition. Eli Drinkwitz says he could be getting closer to a decision, despite the fact that he's also said in the last 48 hours that no one's really separated themselves. But based on what you and Brendan went through in the preview, how much does the announcement kind of change what those expectations will be?
I don't think it changes the expectations. I mean, I think the expectations is that Mizzou continues to build off of what it's done the past 2 seasons. And I think Mizzou fans and Drinkowitz alike expect a college football playoff contention. I mean, that's that they want to be in that playoff and they want to be in that top kind of upper class sector of the SEC. I don't think who the quarterback is something that's going to change those expectations. In terms of them reaching those expectations, I think the quarterback piece is maybe something that, once they got Bo Perbula in the door, it was like Mizzou fans, they were like, oh, we can take a step back. Like, we've got a good replacement for Cook. We've got nothing to worry about. But now you're hearing, okay, maybe it's not as stable as secure as we're hearing more and more. And you have to remember, you're coming off of a leader in Brady Cook, not just a quarterback. You have someone that really knew how to control this offense, how to lead this offense, had been around it a while. And that it was pretty obvious guys really wanted to play for and rally behind. I mean, your quarterback goes to the hospital and comes back and plays in a game. That's how can you not want to play for that guy? And I'm not saying that Sam Horn or Bo Perbula don't have that same fire, but obviously it's going to be adjustment anytime you have not only just a new player in the quarterback position, but also a new leader as well.
I think one of the things that the quarterback competition has done, and I don't know if this is intentional or not, but it's overshadowed the problems. I don't know if they're problems, but the jumbling of the Mizzou offensive line. Caden Green out at left tackle. He was an All-American guard, preseason All-American. They moved Dominic Giudice in at left guard. They say he's dominant there, but then they've got a guy who's only played like 36 snaps in Curtis Pigler at right guard. They have a new right tackle, and they also have a new running back that we haven't heard an awful lot about. So, Hannah, I kind of think that the quarterback situation at Missouri maybe is being used as a deodorant for some of the other things that are going on.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm sure that who's going to be playing quarterback is obviously impacted by all of those different jumbling positions moving around. If you're struggling with the running back position, maybe you like Bo Perbula more because he can use his legs, he can carry the run game. Now, if your offensive line is really, really struggling, do we have a quarterback that maybe can make up for that? But if we really, really want to kind of rely a little bit more on, that air raid type of approach, then do we bring in Sam Horn? And who knows, it could be a situation where like these guys are switching out more so often than not. Again, speaking from a South Carolina fan that once struggled with quarterbacks and we were used to seeing a different quarterback every game, it really just depended on who you were playing that day and what players were actually there to show up in terms of the offensive line and the offensive weapons, because how your line is playing that day and how your weapons are showing up is also going to determine who you want in there at quarterback. So I wouldn't be surprised if, especially the first few games, you see Mizzou maybe tinkering with it a little bit. And even when Drinkowitz names the starting quarterback for Mizzou, I wouldn't be able to just sit in that and be like, that's the quarterback we're going to see, and that's who we're going to see the majority of the season. I think you're going to see a lot of switching out, especially based off of what he's saying right now.
Well, let's shift things over to the other preview you guys did, and that team has named a starting quarterback. It was up in the air, but Joey Aguilar has won the University of Tennessee starting job following the departure of Nico Amaliva. I'm just going to say it that way because it makes sense.
I am Oliva. He was a perfect transfer portal quarterback, right? With the name I am Oliva.
Yeah, we all saw it coming.
Yeah, we were just calling him Nico in the preview to kind of just keep it short and simple.
There you go. That was smart. So they have a starting quarterback now. How much does that change, and how much does that affect, and how much do you guys talk about that in the preview, looking at the starting quarterback competition for UT as you try to predict what they're going to do this year?
Yeah, I think what stands out to me, not just about the quarterback situation at UT, but also what we're hearing from other positions, is you start kind of question, like, what is the state of this locker room right now, and what kind of a handle does Heupel have on the culture? Because not only did you have all of this drama and everything earlier in the spring with Nico leaving, bringing in Joey Aguilar, I don't think it necessarily has to do too much with like the actual positional battle at quarterback. I mean, I think it makes sense that you evaluated it and we're going to put Aguilar in for now. He's our guy. But then you also look at what's happening on other ends of the game and the defense. I mean, you've got one of your best returners, promising young guys in Boo Carter, who all of a sudden hasn't been at workouts, has been kind of AWOL during the summer. Mom's getting on social media, kind of same thing we saw with Nico. Parents are on social media and they're talking and they're saying, my kid needs this. This is happening. And it makes me wonder, okay, we've seen it multiple times in the past few months. What is going on in the Tennessee locker room? And I think that speaks more to what we could see or not see from Tennessee, especially earlier in the season, because you don't really know how stable things are in Knoxville right now.
Speaking of that, obviously Josh Heupel is going to have that offense dialed in. A lot of the Mizzou games against Tennessee have been absolute shootouts. What are the expectations coming out of Knoxville for the defense this year in Orange?
I mean, they returned their stars on defense, specifically in McCoy. He had that ACL surgery in the offseason, but preseason All-American. Again, you return your linebacker in Arion Carter and Boo Carter, as well as a DB. And, they've got returners. They've got a little bit more on paper consistently returning from last year than in the offense, maybe where pieces are moving a little bit more. And so I think that they're really going to need that defense. I don't know how exactly dialed this offense is going to be with Heupel. I'm just not that optimistic because of the quarterback situation. Now, some of this might just be coming from like my own personal hopes, but I don't see it being a situation where either the offense or the defense is going to be this standout, sector of their game and the others kind of like trying to chug along. I think you're going to see both kind of be a little bit off ground and try and find their footing the first couple games.
I don't disagree with you at all, Hannah. I think that you hit the nail on the head there. And Heupel, I mean, that's a team with a level of, is it confidence or arrogance? But whatever it is,
depends on what area of the country you're in.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but I'll tell you what, I don't know how you can feel great about Joey Aguiar, with all due respect to him, being your starting quarterback in the SEC. As we approach the season, and week 0 is on Saturday, and the first SEC teams will play a week from tomorrow, including Missouri opening up their season against Central Arkansas. What do you think in terms of storylines? What early on, as we head into the regular season, what are the one or two biggest things that you're intrigued by in the SEC?
One thing is going to be LSU. We've seen them struggle in their season openers. Now they do play typically a difficult opponent, USC last year. And I think that I'm interested to see how LSU does opening their season and seeing if they can actually start off with a win, because I think there's a lot of expectations on Brian Kelly and on Garrett Nussmeier to have this great season, make that playoff, finally kind of bring LSU back to the realm of what we're expecting. And then maybe a little bit of a different opinion, but I'm interested to see how some of these teams that maybe are expected to be at the bottom of our list, or we're not really sure what to expect, how they come out for that game. And honestly, LSU is the one that I'm gravitating towards in general. I think that's one that I just want to see if they're going to be able to actually start their season off on a strong note this time around.
The other one that I'm looking at, and I know that, and we were talking, no, it was Matthew and I was earlier today. Here you have 4 of the top 6 teams with quarterbacks that basically haven't played, including Texas. And I wonder if there's inherent pressure in being the Texas quarterback. Then there's inherent pressure of being the quarterback of the number 1 team in the country. And with all of those expectations, not that he can't handle it, but I'm really intrigued to see if Texas is as great a team as the talent that they purportedly have is.
Yeah, I think everyone's just ready to see Arch Manning and see him actually as a starter. What is he going to do? How is this Texas offense going to look? Personally, I think that Texas is going to come out and look pretty strong. And I talked about this in our Texas previews. Is the real question is, as Arch Manning gets into the game, gets into real SEC starter football, how is he going to handle his first few mistakes? They're going to happen. I mean, they're going to happen whether you're in your first year starting or, you've been a 4-year starter or however it may be. You're going to have those errors. You're going to have little mishaps. But the question is, how does he recover and kind of flip it on its head? And, next drive, show up and show out. And so that's what I'm really interested to see. And I have a feeling he's not going to struggle too much with that, just because I think he's had the benefit of seeing people around him do that his whole life.
Mhm. Right.
And I'm really excited to kind of see that play out.
And
Also-
we'll see it right away, by the way, with them at Ohio State, and Julian
Mhm.
Sayin is going to be interesting too. But what a great way to start the year for those two teams.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's one where it's like, I mean, you're going to ask anyone, they're excited to see Texas, Ohio State. And I do think, though, and we talked about this in our previews, I don't think the result of that game is necessarily going to be like a hard indicator of what each season is going to look like for each team. I think it's just going to be honestly really entertaining and really exciting and a great way to kick off the college football season. But I don't think that the expectations on Texas or Ohio State, for that matter, are really going to shift depending on the outcome of that game.
Also, Arch apparently has to deal with having an ESPN headline around him commenting on his grandfather,
Yeah, right.
making a comment that he shouldn't have been making. So it's going to be a wild year for Arch Manning. I can't imagine the kind of stuff he's going to have to deal with. It's not going to be like Johnny Manziel level, but it's going to be like a whole different, just the media scape around him. And if they're good, and if they keep on rolling with number one, or the flip side, if they're bad, they lose 2 games early, the media landscape around him is going to be insane.
Yeah.
Speaking of being a little bit harsh, we're talking about the SEC, and I feel like we collectively, as people who talk about the SEC, and as me and Hannah, who people went to different SEC schools than this one, we need to collectively get together and agree that Auburn is a bunch of losers for claiming 7 more national titles.
yeah.
I'll give them 1 more. You get to have 2004. The NCAA has stripped that from USC for their cheating. You went undefeated in the SEC. We'll give you 04. But to say we had 2 and now we have 9, this is some loser behavior from Auburn. Am I right, Hannah?
I agree. And I think at this point, like, you're just grasping. You're grasping for something. You're worried about your program. All this is telling me is you're watching your team in the preseason right now as they're preparing for their first game, and you're going, yeah, I don't know if we're going to do enough to be able to really recruit this class coming in. Why don't we just add a couple national championship titles, and maybe that will blind them from the fact that we're having a subpar year yet again.
So the Auburn Tigers, not one of your dark horses on in the bottom rungs to make a jump up this year.
I wouldn't know if I could go that far, but I hope they enjoy their fake titles.
And I do think that if I were to pick an SEC coach to get whacked at the end of the season, before the season even starts, I would go with Hugh Freeze. I think they're so impatient there, and I know that he's done some good recruiting, but as the league has shown us in the past, you can do good recruiting in the SEC and still get fired. And I wouldn't be surprised if this was a finish year for Hugh Freeze at Auburn.
I would agree. Last name of Freeze, but still probably the hottest seat in the SEC. So we'll see.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Hannah, great stuff. And so you've got a couple of previews up. What are the next previews you're going to record?
Well, you're going to see, let's see, we've got our last few kind of rolling out here. Today, we're going to be talking about LSU, Florida, Kentucky, Vanderbilt. So those should be coming out in the next few weeks. But yeah, lots of previews to come heading into our game 1. And of course, you'll find that on Southeast Sports Fans YouTube. So make sure to go subscribe to that.
And right now, 6 teams are up right now. You can see everything you guys broke down with Arch Manning in Texas. You got into Georgia, potentially going for another championship. We talked about Auburn and the struggles that they've had, called it a make or break year for Hugh Freeze. You also got into Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. And then, of course, the 2 most recent ones, the Missouri Tigers and the University of Tennessee Volunteers. So 6 previews all the way up, already up on SoutheastSportsFans.com. Check those out, and more coming.
By the way, do you guys think after last year, is Vanderbilt kind of scary now?
Diego Pavia thinks so.
I think Diego Pavia thinks Vanderbilt is a national championship team. At least that's what he said. But
I don't think they're scary. But if your team is going into a game against them, I think they're kind of scary.
It's not a gimme like it used to be. I think that's what they showed last year. I wouldn't go far to see that they are one of those upper tier teams in the SEC, but they definitely solidified themselves as not one of those gimme wins that have kind of maybe been taken over by a Mississippi State or a Kentucky. It's definitely one of those where you maybe kind of have to have your foot on the gas a little bit.
Yep.
But you're not going in and playing at Vanderbilt like, let's say you're playing it at LSU.
Yep. Hannah, great stuff, and keep up the great work at Southeast Sports Fans, and we will talk to you next week.
Thanks for having me, guys.
See you later. Thank you. Hanna Barton from Southeast Sports Fans, covering the SEC and, of course, covering South Carolina. She's kind of a South Carolina fan.
Yeah, you can't blame her. I am very mad that you guys made me think of Connor Shaw, though. Those first few years in the SEC were so much fun because wild things were happening. 2012, that was the second year because that was 2013. Because 2012 was not a very good year for Mizzou relative. 2013, obviously, a completely magical year for Missouri that was partially derailed by that damn South Carolina game.
Was that the one with the big punt return?
No, that's the one where they, I believe, put one off the left upright, if I'm correct.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's kind of frustrating.
And I think Connor Shaw goes 20 for 21. Passing in that game.
Yeah.
Yes. So I want to say it's a combination of Connor Shaw being annoyingly accurate, and he came off the bench. He didn't start the game, and that's why she said they had a bunch of weirdness with their quarterbacks. Oh, it wasn't okay. So he went 20 for 29 with 3 touchdowns, but Dylan Thompson had started the game, went 15 for 27, had thrown a pick. The Tigers are leading 17-0 going into the fourth quarter. South Carolina scores 17 in the fourth. And Andrew Baggett misses multiple field goals, and I believe one off the left upright. I might be conflating my really crappy north end zone moments.
By the way, speaking of the north end zone, this year, if you go to Faurot Field, number one, they'll be doing construction literally up until 2 hours before game time, and then they'll stop. But there's not going to be a big board. There's not going to be a video board in the north end zone either. But once it's done, it is going to be very cool. I'm really excited about it.
The kicker in South Carolina might have been in the south end zone. I feel like it wasn't into the rocks. I feel like it was the other one.
Yeah. Some rough days.
Yeah, it's been some rough days for Mizzou fans. Sorry, guys.
All right.
It's been rough days, but yeah, we can go roll with it.
Yeah, we can. Bernard J. Miklasz is in the house. Everything's good. Oh, okay. We're going to get some Bernie.
All right, we're going to get some Bernie show live in studio. I like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm watching. It's like 10 and a half minutes in. There's a headline about Jones buying the team. So I looked at it. So they have the copy of the paper. So my byline's there.
Oh, nice.
And then the news conference, that famous Saturday night news conference, they introduced Jones. He said all those crazy ass things.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, in charge of jocks to socks. Yeah.
You guys are going to be worth.
Yeah.
So we're all sitting there. Oh my God. So anyway, to cut to the chase, I'm sorry I'm rambling.
No, this is great.
So they're panning into the media gallery, and I'm sitting there, like nice big hair, it looked like I'm about 20 years old. It's really funny.
That's great. Okay, I have to watch it. I have to see it now.
I watched the first episode. It was really great. It really was.
Is it balanced?
Yeah, we haven't gotten to the nasty stuff yet.
Okay.
But the way that he came out of nowhere and bought the team and fired Landry, all that stuff's just as it happened. And Jerry's very candid about it.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The Jerry Jones documentary on Netflix.
It's
we'll
but they build a lot of it around as it goes on. Aikman and Irving and Michael Irvin and Emmett.
Yeah. I read somebody who'd watched all 6. I don't even remember where I read it, but they said it might have been The Athletic.
Yeah.
That Michael Irvin steals the show because he's the one that's so raw and
great.
honest.
And it's very creative. Like it really looks good.
Okay.
The lighting
and
all
they do it
listen,
right on
man,
Netflix.
I'm no fan of Jerry Jones. Don't get me wrong.
No.
But it's just that was a time of my life that was pretty interesting.
Yeah. So we'll check it out. Yeah. The Bernie Miklasz byline in the Dallas Morning News.
There it is.
All right, brother. Good seeing you. And Bernie will be with us on Friday. So yeah, I'll be watching the Jerry Jones documentary. I do wonder if it'll be balanced. I don't know. It's weird. Except for your own guys. And obviously we hate Kroenke here. But owners of other franchises in sports, is there anybody else that bothers you besides Jerry Jones? As bad as Dan Snyder was, I wasn't offended or bothered by Dan Snyder. And maybe it's because Jerry Jones directly affected us, but I didn't like Jerry Jones before then. And how stupid must you be to tell the media that when Jimmy Johnson is your head coach, well, there's 500 people that can coach this team.
I hate John Fisher.
Oh yeah, good one. The A's
for what he's done to the Oakland Athletics. Yeah. I hate John Fisher. James Dolan's a good pick for the Knicks.
I don't care about
He's just
James
such
Dolan,
a scumbag.
Yeah.
Like, he kicks people out of his arena. He gets pissy when his employees don't want to come watch his crappy concerts. Like, he's a bad person.
He is, but I don't, if I hear James Dolan's name, I don't flip off the car radio in my vehicle.
No, I do that with Jerry Jones and Stan Kroenke, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I don't hate them. I enjoy making fun of the Cubs ownership.
Yeah, they're fun.
Because
Ted Cruz.
Yeah, just biblical losses.
Yeah.
Biblical losses. And they're in Chicago. It's tough to make money there, So I enjoy making fun of the Chicago Cubs owners. But other than that, like the cheap ownership groups, like the Browns, the Browns who own the Bengals,
they're just
scumbags who in my opinion are probably stealing good money from people in one way and are probably criminally underpaying all their employees.
And I think the number one, the Browns owners, with everything that went on with that. So Haslam owns, is it Jay?
Oh yeah, they're scumbags too.
Yeah. But the Bengals people, I think, are just rubes. I think they're just clowns, idiots. So I'm not offended by the Bengals people at all. I just think they're stupid. And, I know this is mean to say because I like them personally, but the Bidwell family here in St. Louis, and I think in Arizona, I think their heart is in the right place, but they just have no clue as to how to go about winning. And I think that happens with a lot of sports, especially when the family legacy is the team and people inherit teams. I think like Bill Bidwell inherited the Cardinals from his mom and then wound up winning his brother got a racetrack in Illinois and Bill got the NFL team. And then Michael took over from Bill Bidwell. I think none of them have any real clue as to how to really run a football team. And to the credit of some owners, they just turn it over to somebody who knows what the hell they're doing. And I don't think the Cardinals have ever really done that.
This could be Ben says the Monforts.
The Monforts are bad, but I kind of like them.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Monfort, for giving us Nolan Arenado
and
$51 million.
Lex Luthor points out Vivek Ranadive, the Kings owner. He's an absolute weirdo. He's bad for that thing. That's a good one.
I never think about him.
Yeah, that's because you just never think about the Kings.
Yeah, right. Yeah. By the way, did you read about Lacob's son, Joe? So the son who is the VP of basketball operations, he's been there for 10 years and has done a great job by all accounts. Media loves him. And he resigned because he doesn't want to be thought of as somebody who got his job because of his dad. He
resigned from the Warriors?
Resigned from the Warriors.
Wow. Yeah. That's good for him. I love that. That's impressive. Do you think, because you talking about the Cardinals made me think of something. Do you think there's an issue with teams like that who are so historically mired in losing that it's a cycle? Because as soon as a coach gets there who shows any bit of winning, he probably gets too much power because the ownership group says, finally, a guy who can get us 10 wins. Okay, whatever you want. We'll let Bruce Arians do whatever he wants as the head coach. He has all power. He gets to make firing decisions. He gets to fire the laundry assistant if he doesn't like him. All that kind of stuff that ruins culture. I feel like losing teams have a cycle where as soon as they get a little bit of winning, people in that one era of power who won get too much power, and then it gets a bad cycle, and you always have bad actors.
And I think that's part of it, but I think the other part of it is those family-owned businesses, and it's kind of like what happened with the baseball Cardinals here. They don't really have they don't get with the flow as the league changes. Like when Aeneas Williams came here, he went to the equipment guy and said, "Hey, can I get a pair of socks?" And the guy said, "Yeah, they're in the bin over there. There's 1 million of them. Just go grab a pair." And he was flabbergasted because in Arizona, if you got a new pair of socks, you had to pay for them. And it came out of your paycheck, like $7 to get a new pair of socks to do your job. And so I don't think the Bidwells ever really have come to grips with that. So I think a lot of times it's a lack of ability to get with the times. I think that, the Glazers in Tampa finally figured that out, and they started having a level of success. And sometimes franchises do figure it out. Like when Al Davis got passed up, never was able to figure out that the league had passed him up.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Mark Davis has figured that out either.
Like I think another good example is just looking at like Ken Wisenhunt.
Yeah.
They win with Ken Wisenhunt. And one of the
Yep.
years, they were a wild card team with like 8 or 9 wins.
Mhm.
They get all the way to the Super Bowl, and they're like, well, we got to give this guy the keys to the kingdom. And he's just not that good of a coach.
Right.
And then things fall apart.
Well, and that was, Ken Wisenhunt as a head coach, any success he had was Kurt Warner.
Yeah.
that he had Kurt Warner, and Kurt, he turned around 2 moribund franchises. That kind of makes his case for the Hall of Fame right there. The Rams, when he took over as the starting quarterback, had the worst record in the NFL during the 90s, tied with Cincinnati. And then when he gets to Arizona, they hadn't won a championship since 1947, had never been to a Super Bowl, and he leads them to a Super Bowl.
Sam Mother says, I hate the Hunt family. The Hunts tried to buy the Cardinals in 1956 and move them from Chicago to Dallas. When they were denied, they started the AFL.
Well, why not?
And then thankfully they did. Now we have what we have in football.
The National Football League.
God bless them for that one.
Yeah. So don't blame the Hunt family. Blame the Bidwell family.
There you go. And don't blame anybody, Randy. Thank everybody at our friends at Stiefel Charity Classic.
Oh, you know what? We're so looking forward to the first full weekend in September, because the Stiefel Charity Classic is it's one of the great events in St. Louis, and you have the opportunity to go. Tickets now on sale and as you see at StiefelCharityClassic.com. It's a legendary weekend, and you don't want to miss it. It's the Stiefel Charity Classic presented by Compliance Solutions, September 4th through 7th at the historic Norwood Hills Country Club. And you can watch PGA Tour champions tee it up and compete. Some great names that were at the top of the leaderboard last year, along with winner Y.E. Yang, Bernhard Langer, Stuart Sink, Justin Leonard, Chris DeMarco, Darren Clark, and more. It really is a cool event.
And I want to say, we have it in all those names, but it doesn't explain to you what happened last year, because Langer and Yanger went to a playoff.
Yeah.
And the 18th, and so they replayed the 18th hole for the playoff, and Langer sinks like a 30-foot putter to force it onto Yang, and Yang had like a 15-footer to win it, and Yang absolutely just nails the putt. I mean, so even in the Champions Tour, you can get moments like that where you have these two guys who are still absolutely hitting the crap out of the ball, going at it in an 18th hole playoff, and one of them hits an insane 30-footer, and Yang he walked up and didn't even blink. He walked up immediately, sets his putt, hits it, 15-footer for the win. Thank you very much. Where's my cash? It was an incredible moment. Champions Tour can be so much fun.
It's remarkable how well those guys over 50 years old hit the ball. And also at the tournament, you can enjoy a live performance by music sensation OAR at Friday's community concert presented by CarShield. Tickets start at just $20. Kids, military, veterans, and first responders get in free. Get your tickets today at StiefelCharityClassic.com. That's StiefelCharityClassic.com, and we will see you at Norwood Hills September 4th through 7th. And later on, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, are we still going to give away tickets?
We've given away our tickets. There might be some. There might be some those last few days before the concert where we give away a few. We might still have a few extra ones for our loyal listeners. Stay tuned. Nicely done there, Randy. I like that.
There we go.
We got a little synergy there. I like that.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Click on one I wasn't supposed to.
Yeah.
Speaking of golf,
yes,
Tiger Woods today. We had a little announcement about Tiger Woods that I thought was interesting. He's going to be working with the PGA to develop a new what's the exact wording I'm looking for here? I don't want to say new game. A future competition committee is what it's being called. They have established the future competition committee, which will be tasked with defining the optimal competitive model that enhances the PGA Tour's value to fans, players, and partners. And Tiger Woods is going to be a huge part of this. He tweeted out, "Honored to serve as the chairman of the future competition committee. This is about shaping the next era of the PGA Tour for our fans, players, and partners." How about this? The PGA Tour getting Tiger involved in this kind of off the course way.
He's a very creative guy. He knows the history of golf. He knows about golf, and I think it's a really smart move on the part of the PGA Tour. Obviously, their new commissioner comes from the NFL and is looking for ways to enhance the sport. And I don't think they have to worry about LIV at all. I think that they're now just trying to get more people under their umbrella. I was watching a little bit of LIV over the weekend, and it's just,
their season champion didn't win an individual event.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
Yeah. And how do you have a pro golf tour event where, with all due respect to some of the courses that I play, the course looks like some of the courses that they let me on? You just can't have that. And I don't know about you. Tell me this.
All the money goes to the players.
Well, there's a lot of money there, though. I mean, just make the course look nice. Don't have straw all over right in front of the tee box and stuff like that. One of the other parts of this, though, and I know this sounds really stupid because I wear shorts when I play golf. I think that the players wearing shorts looks really unprofessional.
Oh, Randy, no!
I do.
Don't go to the dark side on us.
I just think that the PGA Tour looks more professional.
Randy, you've gone to the dark side.
Have I? Now, no, I wear shorts, but I'm not a professional. I just think that the look of the PGA Tour.
I think you're right. Actually, I hate myself for admitting it, but you're absolutely right. I'm an anti-pants person. I'm pro shorts 100% of the way.
Yeah,
not just in golf, but in all walks of life. But you're right. It does look a little bit cleaner. You mentioning Live and this being called the PGA Future Competition Committee, that did make me wonder, do you think this is about creating more different kind of match play events around the PGA Tour to not copy Live, but maybe do better what Live was trying to capture?
Well, and they had a couple of really good ones. They had the old match play event in Colorado and then one in Austin. And I don't believe there's a match play event on tour right now. Maybe there is in New Orleans. But I think that that's something that the PGA Tour could use, because look at the success of the Ryder Cup. And maybe that's another thing to do, is have a USA versus the world event on the PGA Tour on years where you aren't playing the Ryder Cup. Just make it a tournament.
Oh, okay. I like that. I think there's a lot of different ways to do it. And to your point, Tiger Woods is the guy who's designing golf courses and things like that. I do think, he's got that ingenuity. Obviously, we know he loves the game. I am really excited to see the PGA Tour potentially bring in some kind of games that change things up a little bit. I think that could be fascinating because they got the names. I think they've clearly won the battle. And now the natural thing to do after you win the war, much like the ABA, the NBA and the ABA, the NHL and the AFL, or the NFL and the AFL, you take the one things or the few things that you like that they did, and you said, we're just going to grab that. And as you slowly wilt away, we're going to steal your thing and no one's ever going to talk about you again. And we're going to become bigger because of that. So if not team golf necessarily, but if some, I don't want to say contrive, but just a way to kind of make it more of just to gamify it, I guess.
And you know what? If you really want to have an event, do a PGA Tour versus Live event.
That would be great.
The PGA Tour All-Stars versus the Live All-Stars. And you have DeChambeau, Rahm, Koepka, who is Joaquin Neiman over there?
I think so.
Whoever. You can get it. Who am I leaving out? Oh, Dustin Johnson.
There you go.
Even though he can't
I'd forgotten about him.
And then have Scheffler, Rory, Schauffele, get a group together. Make it that. And you can have an 8 versus 8. That'd be kind of fun. By the way, Scotty Scheffler at the Tour Championship this weekend at East Lake is plus 160. He's the favorite to win the tournament. Rory McIlroy is second. Scheffler at plus 160. Rory McIlroy has the second shortest odds at plus 850.
Yeah, and this is the largest lead in in odds like this since Tiger.
Yeah, Tiger.
So Scotty Scheffler has literally. I know we talked about it like a month ago. We like Scotty. Scotty can't stop winning. Is this the closest we've seen since Tiger? I guess objectively, factually, now this is the closest we've seen since Tiger to Tiger.
Yeah. Shortest odds for any player to win a PGA Tour event since Tiger Woods was even money to win the 2009 Tour Championship.
I mean, it's still obviously he's not even, it's still obviously not the level of Tiger, but I mean, this is the proof in the pudding. He is the closest thing we've seen to Tiger since Tiger.
And he's never out of it. I mean,
he keeps going.
Yeah, he's down 4 shots on Sunday and comes back and wins by a couple. He's down early in that tournament. I saw a great line about him that when he plays poorly, he's in the top 10. When he plays really poorly, he's in the top 10. When he plays just bad, he's in the top 5 and in the hunt. And when he's on top of his game, he just dominates.
That's essentially what it was like with Tiger, wasn't it?
Yeah.
When he was on his game, no one was going to touch him.
Right. He could play poorly and still win. And if he played great, nobody else had a chance. And I also thought it was interesting over the weekend that Robert McIntyre did seem intimidated. And that chip on 17, you talk about taking the wind out of somebody's sails. When Scheffler hit the chip and McIntyre's just standing there he looked like the kid after the speech in Scent of a Woman, the Al Pacino speech. That actor
I'm
that
blanking
died?
on,
And he was just sitting there like this. It was a great a three-name actor that died of an overdose. Chatters, go.
I'm really blanking on who.
Blonde-haired guy, great actor. He won. I think
Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Philip Seymour Hoffman. There you go.
I completely forgot he was in Scent of a Woman. Jesus, I did not know that movie.
He was as a little kid, as a youngster.
I did not know that. That's really funny, actually. Tony Hansel just went to the Live tournament in Indianapolis over the weekend. Fan atmosphere was great, but the level of play isn't there yet. They like the big Sunday moments.
Yeah, and I think it's really hard. And I saw that John Rahm played with a little bit of emotion there. It is cool. And I'd like to know if you paid for tickets or if you got tickets, because when I was watching, it didn't look like the crowds were huge. And I just I wonder if they're going to be able to sustain financially. The private investment fund can sustain, but I wonder if they'll want to sustain paying all these players. There's almost no way that I see that they can be breaking even on this. And I wonder at what point they do, because if you're a golfer now, like if you're a young golfer, name a young golfer on the Live Tour. They're screwed once the private investment fund becomes bored with this.
Well, the problem is, though, Randy, is that the private investment fund will never be bored of this, because shows like this need to do what I'm about to do and mention. Don't forget, the Live is financed by the guys who captured, kidnapped, and cut up an American journalist.
That's true. Yep.
And that's why they're going to keep pouring money into it, so that we talk about this without mentioning that every time. But I'll always make sure to take a little turn right towards it.
Yeah. Tim Harris, thank you for welcoming me back. Glad to be back. We're also having a conversation about Kansas City losing the old Kansas City Scouts. I think they was an NHL team that lasted for 2 years. Then they moved to Denver and became the Colorado Rockies before the baseball Rockies. And then they left Denver and went to New Jersey and became the New Jersey Devils.
Nicely done.
And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Rob Ramage may have been the first pick in the draft of the Colorado Rockies.
One day, as it properly should be, Kansas City will operate as the minor league market for the St. Louis Blues, and the Kansas City Scouts will be the minor league team for the Blues. And we can just do what we've always been able to do and just pat them on the head, be like, thanks for developing those prospects for us.
Yeah, that'd be nice. And then, like the NFL, maybe can have a developmental league, and the Battlehawks can develop guys for the Chiefs, their next quarterback.
Turnabout's fair play on that one. Tony Hansel says, I was given them through a media member friend, but I just knew, but most I knew who purchased them. It was quote unquote an event here. Let's see what the crowd is like next year.
Yeah. So, but it's, if we can get sports and we can get broadcasters employed and stuff like that, that's all good. But it does seem like, to me, what you said, and I think there's still people that, I'm glad, feel the way that you do about it, because these are, as Phil Mickelson called them in a book, scary blankers.
Yep, they are. They are. They're trying to make you forget that.
Yep. And these guys, I really like the competitive guys, who, like Rory McIlroy, he said, Rory McIlroy could have made more than all of those guys, but he said, I wanted to play against the best in the world.
I can't blame him.
And he made more money than God.
I try not to blame the guys who took the money, but I'll still take shots every once in a while. Speaking of next year, when it comes to golf, obviously the BMW Championship is here in St. Louis next year. Yeah. That's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be great, and we'll get to see Scotty Scheffler here. Isn't it interesting that Scotty Scheffler wasn't even a thought of ours in the 2018 PGA Championship?
Not thought. I had no idea who he was.
Yeah, and now here we are in 2025, and he's far and away the best guy. And Koepka is. We don't hear much about Brooksy anymore, unfortunately. Too bad. Okay,
and Scheffler's only 29.
Yeah,
he's got 5 or 6 more years of this if he plays it right.
Lex Luthor. I think the Pelicans relocate to Seattle fairly soon, but that's the only NBA team I see leaving its current market. Really, I think Seattle winds up with one of the expansion teams, don't you? Seattle and Vegas.
Yeah, but also like Lex. I mean, I understand that you think this, but like there's literally currently an issue going on with one of the NBA teams trying to leave its city potentially. So I know you're saying they're going to stay in Memphis, but at this point, the smart money on a team leaving should be the Memphis Grizzlies, because they're struggling there. They're having issues now with getting a stadium financed and things like that, and the upgrades financed, and they're having issues with crime, and people say they don't want to go downtown because of crime issues and things like that. So the Grizzlies are dealing with a lot right now, and I know the NBA doesn't want to move markets, but there's a reason why everyone's picking up this story and running with it.
I wonder if there's anybody in St. Louis that would have any thought whatsoever about trying to bring a franchise to a market that is suffering a precipitous population decline and headquarters decline. We're still the biggest market without an NBA team.
Do you have Dave Stewart's number?
I don't know. Dave's like 70 now.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't.
That light at the end. That light at the end of the tunnel is an NBA title, baby.
Oh, there you go. Maybe he would get involved. I don't know. I don't have his number.
Damn it.
Yeah.
Jim Hayes is on it. He was trying to get the Portland Trailblazers here, and that he came up a few bucks short. So now Jim Hayes is on the Memphis Grizzlies to St. Louis train. But I also think Nashville, being what Nashville's doing right now and booming the way it is, if could the NBA beat baseball there by moving the Grizzlies?
Maybe.
I
don't know. So I know the city of St. Louis is having the decline of the St. Louis population, a problem both for the city itself and the broader region because their fates are tied together. And the region is losing population as well. Kansas City saw the opposite trend and is now Missouri's leader for population growth. And St. Louis is, I think, among the top 50 markets. St. Louis might be the only market that has more people that are dying than are being born. So we got to change that around. We got to get our population, our working population going, and we need to get our corporate population up to the levels that it were when we brought the Rams here in 1995. Otherwise, there's no chance, right?
Where the hell is Tampa Bay? Oh, there it is. Okay.
You think Tampa's doing okay?
Tampa's, it's number 10 media market.
Yeah.
So Tampa Bay is definitely larger than St. Louis.
Oh, yeah.
San Diego is not, according to media market.
Orlando's like only 45 minutes away.
Oh, okay. So Orlando, yes, because Orlando as a media market itself is pretty far down the list. Yeah, it's 15th. Orlando, Daytona Beach, Melbourne gets the number 15 ranking, whereas Tampa Bay, St. Petersburg, Sarasota gets number 11. So I guess they're kind of bopping between two different top 15 markets. So that they're doing fine there. So San Diego is behind St. Louis, though.
So let's
media market wise.
Yeah. And I don't know if I think St. Louis, from a fan standpoint, I think we would support a team. My concern would be, would the corporate support of our region be able to provide an NBA, or at this stage an NFL team, what it needs? Because a lot of money is being spent on the Blues. And oh, by the way, I think we've mentioned this on the show before, the two primary owners of the Blues, Tom Stillman is the chairman, but it's Enterprise and Worldwide Technology. Who owns the soccer team? Enterprise and Worldwide Technology. I don't think that those two front offices, those two franchises, would want to cannibalize their own teams by allowing another team to come into town, another franchise to come into town to compete for entertainment dollars.
Was Stewart's ownership share different from Worldwide Technologies in the Blues?
No, I don't think so.
Well, he sold his to
I think
QRM Capital in 2024.
Okay, I believe that Jim Kavanaugh is also part of that.
Okay, so I'm just 2024 KSDK has a story. Dave Stewart sold his chunk of the Blues ownership group to Michael Riney, the founder and managing director of investment firm QRM Capital. So I'm not sure if there is still another, if that was separate from like any other stake that like the company had, or if that was the stake. Just wanted to bring that up.
Okay. And here's the numbers that I was looking for you. for our region. The entire metro area had about 2.81 million people as of July 1st. That was a drop of about 10,000 people in a little more than a year. So very few regions are losing population, but we are one of them, unfortunately.
And that's been going on for about 10 years now.
Yeah.
A little bit more than actually that. I think
Yeah, we are.
I think when I was doing research on the population around 2016 when we were having the Rams debate, I think I remember like 2013 being
the city
when
has had their
things started
problems.
declining.
Yeah, but now the city is, heck, when I was younger, the city was 700,000. Now the city's less than 300,000. But the region is losing.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is the region was already going down about 13 years ago.
So
a little problematic.
That's a shame. So that I think will be the biggest barrier to us getting future pro sports teams is the decline in population and the decline in corporate headquarters. And you want to have a team in downtown St. Louis, and downtown is not exactly bustling if the Cardinals aren't playing.
Yeah, and my problem here is like Lex Luthor saying, but yeah, you want to talk about that, but what about Green Bay, Wisconsin? What's their corporate base like? What's Buffalo's corporate base like? You can't compare the Green Bay Packers and the Buffalo Bills to the city of St. Louis attracting a team. The Green Bay Packers are the Green Bay Packers. The Buffalo Bills are the Buffalo Bills. Like there's a level of connection there that is completely different when you're talking about attracting a new franchise versus a stable franchise. Two of the most historic ones, the most historic one, and then one of the more historic ones, they're going to have a different circumstances to stay or be involved in a city than the Rams were when they were here as a team that was coming in. Heck, even the Cardinals when they were here, and obviously all these other teams that have to deal with the money side.
And the Packers are kind of like the Cardinals here,
Yeah.
in that their salespeople go all over the state. They go to Eau Claire, they go to Menominee, they go to Madison, they go to Milwaukee. They are they're basically the Wisconsin Packers, and so they're a global brand. The Packers can sell pretty much anywhere because of the cheeseheads and because of the not only national but international popularity of their brand. And what was it? Oh, the Bills. The Bills have all of Western New York, which is a pretty substantial area. And they even go into Canada a little bit. And again, because of the 4 Super Bowls in a row, there are things that they can do nationally that a lot of franchises can't. So there's a little bit of difference there.
I like this idea from Victor Conlon on the Facebook. STL needs to give most of the NFL money to an airline so they can make STL a hub again. Bringing in an airline for a hub will bring back other companies that will then bring in jobs, and that will bring in new younger workers and therefore more tax dollars.
Got to make the airport better, which they're trying to do. And I thought it was alarming that Southwest took away a bunch of nonstop flights last week. That doesn't help us. And I don't know that we'll ever, well, I shouldn't say that. What you got to do is what St. Louis hasn't done a really good job of. We haven't done a good job of retaining our own companies, let alone luring other companies. And somebody with some leadership has to make it economically beneficial for an airline, Delta, to come to St. Louis, because it's not economically beneficial for American to leave Dallas or Southwest to leave Dallas or Delta to leave Atlanta at the moment. You've got to make it really attractive for all of those companies to want to come to St. Louis.
Don't forget, we can partially blame losing the hub on Chicago because they suck and they ruin things for us all the time.
And 9/11.
Yes, that was the inciting factor that then caused Chicago to change up their how they were running things, which then opened up their ability to be a larger primary hub, which then meant that the secondary hub that was St. Louis could be completely dropped as a secondary hub. But again, I know it is 9/11's fault, but I'm also blaming Chicago. It does suck, though, as a St. Louisan who's 34 years old, to essentially figure out that all the crappy stuff that you can't solve and has caused St. Louis to change happened when you were 10 years old, and you can't really do anything about it now.
Lex Luthor, is it possible that not having an NFL or NBA team is why these companies leave and not the inverse? I do think that companies draw corporate citizens, or teams can draw a corporate citizen, but I don't think that is, maybe it's a small part of the reason that a company would leave, but I think the biggest thing though is economic opportunity. Like Hardee's was here. They moved to Nashville. That meant Nashville presented more economic opportunity. Some of them were just natural. Like when General Dynamics left, it's a defense firm, and they moved to Washington, D.C. to be closer to the Defense Department. When Southwestern Bell left, they went to San Antonio because they thought they were going to get more Mexican workers. And then they wound up there in Dallas now as under that umbrella of AT&T. Anheuser-Busch got sold to InBev. So some of the stuff is not controllable, but we don't do a good job with the controllable stuff either. To answer your question, I think that having teams can attract business, but I don't think that if a business is already here, that they're going to leave because a team isn't here.
I think the bottom line is not, tax dollars and things like that are one thing. Corporate partnerships are another thing.
Mm-hmm.
NFL teams, NBA teams are corporate partners. And so if having those teams means I can make more money and my marketing can get me more things for my bang for my buck, then that helps with a team being in there. So I just think it's literally more of having more partners that you can work with that are successful are a good thing for businesses. And so there probably is an effect to it. I'm not sure where the circle starts, but I'm sure it is connected in some way.
A couple of years ago, I asked an NFL guy that was in town, if an NFL team would come to St. Louis, what would the biggest sponsor be? And he said, thought about it for a while. And St. Louis guy knows St. Louis very well. It'd probably be Mercy Hospitals. So if Mercy Hospitals is your biggest, not taking nothing away from Mercy, they're massive. They might even be the biggest employer in the area. But when you don't have an Anheuser-Busch, when you don't have an airline, when a company like Enterprise doesn't want anything to do with the NFL anymore, it's really difficult to survive as an NFL team if you don't, or a basketball team, if you don't have that big time sponsor that is kind of your bulwark, the one that you count on all the time.
We always get this message whenever we chat about this. Somebody is in the chat mentioning how we blew the Disney deal. Listen,
yeah,
hindsight's 2020. No. We did not blow the Disney deal. St. Louis got screwed by Walt being a teetotaling weirdo about that. Because Gussie was right. They serve alcohol at Disney parks now.
Mm-hmm.
Walt being a teetotaling weirdo in that situation, be like, we can't have alcohol at the parks. Gussie saw the vision and was correct. And so I'm not blaming him for that one. Yeah, should we have not been that stubborn? Maybe we shouldn't have been that stubborn. But I respect them for saying, guys, this is a bad idea if you don't want us to sell liquor or beer at least. And Walt said, no, I'll wait 30 years, build it in a swamp, and eventually sell alcohol there. Come on now.
Yeah. Enamel in the Lou, would city-county merger help?
God.
Couldn't hurt.
I agree. Helped Indianapolis. It helped Nashville. Baltimore still has it. Causes problems there. Feel like it might help here.
Yep. Yeah, pretty much every city in America except for Baltimore and St. Louis has had a merger to make it big. And if we would merge, if the city and county would merge, St. Louis would be the 11th largest city with the 54th highest crime rate.
It would help. It would be
couldn't hurt.
It would be massive.
I think perception would change a lot.
Lex Luthor, Baltimore still has an NFL team. They do. But Baltimore also gets I feel like Baltimore is a weird thing when it comes to sports teams because we don't talk about it very much, but Baltimore has it has a transient factor because
they also have a Baltimorean that owns the franchise.
I was going to say they have a local who owns the franchise, but like I was going to say, Baltimore and DC is such a weird place because it's like they're like so many people who live in DC or work in DC live in Baltimore. Right. So there's there's a lot of different people like spread around Virginia and the Maryland area who are kind of in that DC area who are like kind of connected to that area. It's a weird thing.
They're almost merged now. Baltimore and DC.
Yeah.
Somebody was talking about this on a game the other night. They're essentially the number 3 market now.
Yes, exactly. So I feel like that kind of like there's no doubt that Baltimore having some problems in their city is a huge thing. Listen, like there are headlines right now talking about their murder rate and crime rates dropping, and it's wonderful. I brought up Baltimore because they still have issues, but if you look at their sports teams and things like that, they have ownership groups that are maybe not the best in some situations. When you want to look at the Orioles, they are locked into that city, and obviously St. Louis has had issues with that, and has paid for it.
Yep. Ellipsis 150. Hearing how much of the city is dying is really depressing me. The bones, the potential of this city are fantastic. And other cities have turned it around and done wonderful things. And it's just going to take really strong leadership and smart leadership. And there is an absolute divide. It's like there's a wall between the city and the county, and that does hurt. And the city, like we said, at some point when you go from 700,000 people to less than 300,000 people in the space of 30 years or so, somebody at some point is going to have to recognize that there's a problem.
Yeah, that's really true.
And fix that.
Can I also say this, and I know we've talked about this, and I do believe the success of a team can change things. One factor with the Ravens does have to be that they are wildly successful across their first 30 years in the league. I mean, they have been to the playoffs out of the 30 seasons they've played. They've been to the playoffs 18 of those 30 seasons, and including winning 2 Super Bowls in that time. Like there's a lot of reason to be a Baltimore Ravens fan.
And that city, like in a different way, they got screwed when the Colts, that was a fantastic football town, an historic football town that had their franchise taken away literally in the dead of night. The Mayflower trucks came in. Robert Irsay had the franchise moved to Indianapolis, but that was a great football town that shouldn't have lost the Colts in the first place. So when they got the Ravens back 12 years later, they were hungry for it, and they stayed hungry for it. That's a great football area too, with a great football history and a lot of championships. The Colts winning championships and having really good teams. And Johnny Unitas, they won Super Bowl 5 on that Jim O'Brien field goal. They were a great franchise. The Colts were in Baltimore for a long time, and I think that they just have had a better NFL experience, which causes people to have more blind loyalty. And the other thing that, by the way, should have happened here is when the Browns' name changed to the Ravens. When the Rams came here, they should have changed the name from the Rams to something else. Now, Georgia didn't want that to happen, but LA never stopped longing for the Rams. And if they would have been called the Stallions, there wouldn't have been that automatic. Because one of the things that Jerry Jones said the night of the move, January 12th of 2016, they're sitting at a bar at the hotel in Houston, and Jerry keeps going, Los Angeles Rams. Doesn't that sound great? Los Angeles Rams. And so, that was a part of it. It sucked.
Doesn't sound great. Littles 150. What can the city do to regain its former glory? Can it regain its former glory? It really saddens me to see how much this city is dying. And I think that's why you got to move past that mindset. We're never going to retain our former glory. We have to adapt and change. We have to be something different. St. Louis is never going to be what it was in 2005 or 1995 or 1985. Those are dead. So you got to adapt, and you got to be something new, and that's the name of the game. And for me, I've been a city resident my entire life, except for like 2 years there, and I've always been a big proponent of it because I think when you look at how other cities do, it makes things better. It brings people together, and then you can actually start working on things. That's what happened in Indy. Look where Indy's been. They merged, they rebuilt Lucas Oil Stadium, and now they are a basketball hub in addition to having an NFL team. Look at what Nashville did. Every time we talk about St. Louis, we talk about how Nashville won't stop building. Them merging everything together was a huge part of that.
And we got passed up because of foresight, like you mentioned, Indy. So they decided, you know what, we're going to be the amateur sports capital of America. And they lure the NCAA there. Now, the NCAA is not the best organization, but they lured it there. And they have all kinds, because of the building of Lucas Oil Stadium and other facilities there, they have all kinds of great amateur events that happen there. But the cool thing for them is that with Lucas Oil Stadium, they get a Final Four every 5 years because the NCAA is there. They bring in the gymnastics championships. They bring in the swimming championships. They do a great job that we should have done with bringing in amateur events. And one of the reasons, again, you lose all that corporate support. There isn't much leadership on a government level. And so the St. Louis Sports Commission is left to do everything on their own, and they just aren't able to finance it. Minneapolis. So we had the gymnastics championships, right before the Olympics a few years ago. Minneapolis does the same thing. and has the championships. And I don't know what company it was, but our people had to go out and scrounge for $4 million to have the championships. Right after the championships in Minneapolis, one of their big companies, and it might have been Target, I'm not sure. I think it was Target, steps up and offers $4 million. Hey, as long as you guys bring that here, we'll finance it for you. And that's the way it happened.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. I hope it gets better because
Me too.
I probably won't live in the city of St. Louis the rest of my life, but I love the city of St. Louis, and I hope I no longer have to separate the two. It'd be nice to not have to delineate the two. That'd be fun. I'd appreciate that. My entire life has been playing that game. I'd like to stop playing that game for once.
Yeah.
Entire life I've been having to draw lines between the city and the county.
Shouldn't have to do that.
I grew up in the city. I went to high school in the county. I grew up in the city. All my friends lived in the county. I grew up in the city. The pool I went to is in the county, and it's been a whole thing my entire life. I would love to never have to delineate between those two things. It's literally never not been a part of my life, Randy, and I'd love to just leave that in the past and move on to an actual future in St. Louis.
Makes sense. All right, so that's kind of a downer. But you know what? The Cardinals are going to win tonight. The Cardinals are going to win, and they're going to sweep the Miami Marlins. And you know what? They're going to be, within 5.5, 4.5 of the lead? The wild card lead?
It'll be 500 again.
Last wild card. Yeah, let's get back
500.
to 500.
Let's go. All right,
Yeah.
81 wins this season.
Here come the Cardinals.
Tra-la, tra-la.
So that'll be good. Palante against Alcantara tonight. And, of course, you will have Sports Hub or Sports Central 365. I said the wrong name there. Sports Central 365 before and after the games, all the games here in St. Louis and on the road as well. So you'll be able to tune in to the pregame for Cards and Marlins and postgame and talk about what just happened. Don't forget, you can subscribe to our STL Sports Central newsletter. Just go to stlsportscentral.com. You can also like this YouTube page that you're on, get notifications when this show is coming on, like this video, follow us on social, and join us at STL Sports Central. Great job today, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
And our thanks to Hanna Barton for joining us, talking a little SEC. Thanks to Wilson for getting us on the air. And for all of us, until tomorrow morning at 10, have a happy hump day.